Hey, everyone, and welcome to Building with Vitality, the podcast that's all about helping you live your best life.
And we're your hosts, Nikki and Paige. We're going to give you all the tools to help build a life that's full of vitality. Let's dive in.
Okay, so Paige and Nikki here. This is our very first episode of Building with Vitality.
Nikki, why and how did we come up with building with vitality?
So I think we were trying to come up with words that encompassed what we believe, what we want to do. And we loved the word building. So it's funny because we sat in these planned sessions with each other to be like, okay, we're going to come up with this name. And we were trying to force it. There was so much forcing going on. And we just couldn't, we came up with names, they just didn't really feel right. And so we were in Vegas with our friend Jess, just having fun. And we were sitting there. I remember exactly where we were in the Bellagio, just sitting there like waiting for dinner, I think. And we just started spouting out things that we wanted to do and goals that we wanted to have and things that were important to us. And we were like, we really want to focus on building and progress, and that's what brings happiness, right? And that's kind of what we're all focusing on. And then what word epitomizes that we want to build with? And so I've always really loved the word vitality because to me that means energy and vibrance and passion, and I feel like that encompasses both of our kind of like life mantras.
100%.
Yeah. And so I feel like you're really good at that. Like if I were to think of a word for you, it's energy, vitality, and just passion. Like you're passionate about everything that you do.
I love that. No, that is the nicest compliment because sometimes I feel like I'm too high energy.
You definitely don't lack passion. No,
and we're so excited because there are so many times when you're talking with your friends, and you guys probably feel this too, when you're like, that could have been a podcast episode. Like that was so strong, so deep. How do we get this out to more people? Because you have your small circle, and those of you that don't, you'll find it.
Yes.
But when you find it, it's like, okay, how do you extend that into everyone else's minds?
Yeah. And that's what is so funny because the way that we met is so random.
The most random.
Of just finding each other. And we've kind of cultivated this.
I feel like we need to tell them how we met.
I think that we do too.
We do.
Yeah. So back in the day, well, okay. So I was working at a marketing agency, Avalanche. I was one of their very first employees and helped just grow that agency.
She's humble. She ran the place.
No, it was really fun to help. They're amazing. And I loved my time there. So when I was there, we started using Current, the company that Paige was at. And so we met a few years ago. I went to college with Trig, the guy that started it, and then we just
shout out
to Trig. No, but I just always remember seeing you just being like, this woman is beautiful and she is kind and she is assertive.
Wait,
yeah,
that makes me want to cry.
Yeah, no, I always
because I thought the exact same thing about you.
Oh, that's nice.
The first call we had.
Oh,
I was like, who's this blonde bombshell? That went through my mind.
Yeah, because then I started referring clients over to you guys.
Yes.
And then I went and I was the VP of marketing for a macro-balanced meal company. And then that company, we hadn't paid you. The CEO was behind on bills. And
so shit hit the fan. We won't get into that on this episode.
That's for another whole podcast episode.
That is another podcast episode.
Yeah.
So we'll leave that there as a little plug. But basically, I was told by my CEO that I had to call Nikki and I had to basically get our money because we were, I want to say like $90,000 deep with you guys.
Yeah, we owed you guys a lot and I had no idea.
So much money. Idea. So I call her and I'm like so scared because I'm like, I want to be her friend. I don't want her to hate me, but I'm going to call her. So I call her and I'm like, hey, you guys owe us money. And what did you say?
I was just like, you and everyone else. I think we owed everyone money at that point. And I had no idea. Like I was being lied to in a couple of different scenarios. And so I was just like, I am so sorry. And I basically, then my role became, I had to take the fall and like the brunt because we owed all these vendors money. It was a really hard situation. And so I just was apologetic and just like, yeah, I will work on that. I feel so bad.
I remember that. And then I was like, hey, I feel so bad for you. Do you want to go grab lunch? That's what started it.
Yep.
Because that's the first time we went and actually got lunch. I actually forgot about that.
Yeah.
And then we went to Fueled Kitchen. Mm-hmm. We chatted. You told me like a little bit about your life. And then.
Yeah, because I had just, in the last like year and a half, I had just gone through this intense life change where literally every single thing in my life was different. Where I lived, where I worked out,
your job,
my relationship status, all of it, like every single thing.
Yeah.
And I remember, I mean, this past year and a half has been the hardest of my life, but also the most beautiful because it's made me take a really hard look at myself and everything that's been in it.
Yeah.
People that have been in it, where I'm putting my energy, all of it. And I feel really grateful though, because all of these things that have then come to me have been beautiful and amazing.
But it was your mindset. And that's like literally it. You were like, I'm living in abundance. I choose this. I want to be better and do better. Mm-hmm. And then things just came to you.
Yeah.
And then I'm one of those things.
Yes, you are one of those things. Yeah. and just, I know with a lot of the aspects of my life, I took a step back, and I think it's so easy to get into autopilot.
Totally.
And that's part of this whole podcast that we want to do too, is there's no area of your life. That's actually what I'm writing a book on too, is
another plug.
Yes, another plug. Of just this paradox of you always want to be improving and learning and growing, but you also want to love yourself as you are and be content and happy now. 100%. So live in the present, but also love yourself enough to then grow. And so I think I took a really hard look at everything and the people and where I was putting my energy.
Yeah.
And I just was like, okay, I want to surround myself with people that are, especially with the people, like energy givers and not, I call them energy vampires.
Yes, 100%.
Anyway, and so that's one thing that I love about you and our friendship. And then the other friendships that we've cultivated are, we all try and lift each other up. And it's not a, what can I get from you? It's a, what can I give you? And then I have the trust in you that you do the same thing. And so we never have to be like selfish in a way of, oh, what can I get from this person? Because we're all just worried about each other.
I love that. Yes. So. No, 100%. And that's what's going to be so interesting about just going on this journey with you and everyone else that is listening. We are literally going to take you guys through all of our thought processes, how we have been able to get where we are today, how we are cultivating relationships with people, how to keep those relationships, how to build your business, how to build brands, how to build your wealth, your health, everything, because we're constantly on our own journeys. And I feel like there is so much information out there. There's just so much noise. Sometimes it's easier to have like a couple trusted sources and you're like, all right, I'm going to try this. Let's do this. And that's just kind of what we're here for.
Yeah. I absolutely love what you just said about so much noise, because I call it brain chaos. And
that's the best word ever.
Because I feel like you can also get addicted to all the things of learning and growing. And I actually felt a lot of chaos this past year because I was just soaking it all in. But then I had so much knowledge. I was just like, I remember I was actually doing EMDR, which is another great episode that we can talk about of what EMDR and how it can be helpful.
So many good episodes coming.
Oh my gosh, so many. But I remember my counselor saying, I asked her, I said, okay, what can I do? Like, what book should I read next? And she was like, nothing. Just sit in it for a minute. And the whole point of all of this is to love yourself, trust yourself, and listen to your intuition. And so for me, that's been the most important thing is, I think especially as women, we're raised to be good girls and to listen and to, appease and do all of these things. And so a lot of times we get away from that authentic inner voice where it's like, oh, I'm so used to following the rules that you don't stop to think, do these rules serve me? Are these actually in alignment with how I feel? And so there's that balance But I think at the end of the day, the point is sifting through the noise and being able to be healthy and aware enough to actually like come back to yourself and listen to that in inner voice and intuition.
I want you guys to know these are the conversations we have off the mic. So this is what's so exciting.
Yeah, this is just like a normal combo
having
for us.
them in, having it actually be on a mic. This is so cool. So you guys know how we met. We wanted to start building with Vitality. And something else really exciting that we're going to be doing together is actually launching a brand. And so there are so many people out there that build these really successful businesses, and then you hear about how they did it afterwards. And it's like, okay, but like, what were the actual tangible steps to make it happen? How did you do that? What were the relationships you had to build to get there? What does that look like? So we both have really heavy marketing backgrounds, and we've helped build companies, and we just decided, okay, we want to change the world. And we're going to not get into that this episode of what it actually is.
Yeah, but we'll do a full announcement.
Yeah, that's a full announcement later. But like, we just feel really strongly that people are happiest when they have an abundance mindset, they're optimistic, they have good high energy, and they're around people with high energy. But then also what Nikki said earlier of just building towards something. So everything is about just building, because there's not a spot where you arrive and that's like your end goal, because then you have something else. So what are you building towards? And that's really the key here, is we're literally going to take you through how we're also building our own personal brand, which is going to be absolutely wild.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. We're excited. We're so passionate about it.
So passionate. And I remember I was like, I want to do this thing. She wanted to do this thing. And not joking, we intertwined in such a way where like instantly we're like, we've got to do this.
Yes.
And then we did it, and we're doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it. We're just going. And that's what's so fascinating about life in general is we can, and I think I actually struggled a lot after college because everything had been laid out for me. It's like you live your life and you're like, okay, this is the next step. This is the next step. Then I'm going to graduate. Then I'm going to go to college. And then you're like, crap, what do I do now? And you always have something that you're officially working toward. And then once you become an adult, it's like, okay, no, like now you just get to do whatever you want.
Right.
And so learning to, just grow and trust yourself. And I love what you said about you've never actually arrived. Like, what does success look like to you? And I feel like success is a state of mind, because
100%.
if you base it on achievements, and that's also part of like this whole journey that I went on of, at the end of the day, when you take a step back, what is the most important thing in life? It's helping people, the energy that you give, the energy that you have, the connections that you have, the relationships. I love when you say that. Yeah.
Nikki always says life is about connection, because we're both such hard chargers. Like, I could work all day if I wanted. It's just like there are people with different bandwidths, and for some reason I can just go. And she's like, but life is about more than that. You need to connect with people. You can still love doing all of these hundreds of other things, but what is life if you cannot connect with another human being? Yeah.
And I'm so passionate about that, because I feel like I've made the mistake in my life where I haven't prioritized connections. And so
me either. I don't even think I knew how to until I met you.
Yeah. But that's also the beauty of this whole podcast too, is I am the first one to say I do not have everything all together.
Oh, yeah.
And I never will.
Same.
And I love Maya Angelou's quote where she says, do the best you can until you know better, and then do better. And so I actually did have a point in my life where, this was probably a couple years ago, where I had done a bunch of fitness competitions. I had my like fitness business. I was killing it in marketing. I was speaking at all these events. And I kind of was like, I think I got a little cocky, to be honest with you. I was like, I have this whole life thing figured out. I was waking up at 5 to go to the gym every day. Like, I had my routine dialed in, and I got humbled, and I got real humbled, and
it made me in the shins, man. Yeah, we all do.
It just made me remember that, none of us have it all figured out, and that, again, it's all about relationships, connections. And so a big point of our podcast too is, how can we show up better for ourselves and for other people that then carries over to business, relationships, like everything else. And so we're going to focus a lot on health, nutrition, mindset, building the business. So I'm excited. We have a lot of really cool people lined up to interview because again, we're not claiming to be experts in all of these things. I know a little bit about a lot, but I'm excited to interview a lot of people that, you know, specialize in these different aspects.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, part of that is like the most random people are probably going to come into our lives for this as well. So that's what's going to be wild.
Yeah. And it already had, and that's the thing is kind of going back to our conversation about just where things lead us to. And it's like, there were very specific things that I thought I wanted in my life and that I was like, yeah, I'm going for this. And then slowly things happen. And I've heard a lot of people say recently, like, there's no real like such thing as failure. And even your hard times actually lead to something beautiful. And it sucks when you're in that moment. If anyone tells you that, you're like, shut up. Like, I don't want to hear that. But then once you kind of like get past it, then it's hindsight's 2020, right? It is a lot easier to see like what led us to these different things. And it's interesting to see just the universe is bigger than just us, right? And I went through that's another whole episode of our beliefs, and I feel like it's very important, whatever you believe in, higher power, God, the universe, to have something that's bigger than you that you believe in that you can hold on to. Your purpose, I guess, of.
And like, even just your own personal values, like if you can create your own personal values, when we were starting to get all of our documents ready to start our own business, one of the first things we did was actually outline what are our actual leadership values going to be, because it's going to start with us. And then as the company grows, because it will.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to grow.
As it grows, you're going to have to step out of some of these things, and we have to have that culture already built. So we're going to have to hire for the values that we put in place. And then it's not something that people just say out loud, oh, these are our values. It's like, no, we live them every day. And it's the things that we've already laid out, right? It's have an optimistic mindset, be high energy. You know, we should actually do a full episode on that. Because I mean, even for me, it's like constant gentle pressure. It's like, how do you lead with empathy, but then know when to tap into more of the intense side, which I do tend to go into the intense side.
You can be intense, and I love that side of you. No, it's great.
We're dealing with a lot right now.
Yeah. But that's what's fascinating though too, is we've both been women in business in leadership positions. And I have seen this really interesting shift in my own mindset there, where growing up, I was too nice, 100%. I had teachers tell me that I was too nice. Like I got walked all over. Yes.
That is so funny.
Because I was just a sensitive soul. So then I became, you know, I started achieving and, you know, doing all of these things. And I learned to kind of mask that a little bit. But even when I started my career in marketing, I was just a little bit too nice.
That's so interesting.
As I started helping to build this marketing agency, I started getting into these leadership positions, and I was like, okay, I can't get walked on. So I had this about 2 years in my career where I honestly was kind of mean. Like I look back, I mean, people who know me say like I wasn't, but for me, it was mean.
You tapped into your masculine energy.
I did. I tapped into my masculine energy, which I want to have a full episode on the difference between masculine and feminine energy and how we can tap into those.
Yes.
And I didn't even realize what I was doing, but I remember taking a step back and being like, I am not showing up in my career and to these people that as my authentic self.
Right.
Like this isn't me. This feels like I'm forcing being like kind of strict and stern, and it just didn't feel good to me. And so then I was like, okay, what are my superpowers? My superpowers are kindness, love, empathy, compassion, because I truly care about people and I want to see them grow.
You do.
And you're the same. And so I realized if I reframed that in my mind of, okay, I want to be kind and loving because I care about these people, but I also have to put in place those assertive boundaries.
Yeah, 100%.
And
people need to be pushed sometimes.
Yes.
Because they also don't know how to push themselves.
Yeah.
Like there are people where you have to give them a little bit of an extra pat.
But if it's out of kindness and love and like they can feel that it's not out of
fear.
Yeah, it's not out of fear, but it's out of love, then I think they appreciate that.
100%.
And so that's why, honestly, I feel like everything just comes back to intention. Your intention behind everything. Because if you're, even for yourself, right, I also want to have a full episode on exercise and changing your mindset about exercise, because if we are looking at exercise and doing these things for ourselves out of self-love and not out of self-deprecation or punishing our bodies, it changes everything. And so on days where I don't feel like working out, when I think to myself, I mean, I know a ton of the science behind how good movement is for your body and how much it helps you. But if you look at it as, okay, I want to do this because I love myself, and same with nourishing your body too.
Yeah.
Then it changes everything.
She eats so healthy, you guys. She's not the girl that you call up on a weekend to say, hey, let's go get 2 large pizzas. So I don't call Nikki when I need that. I don't do it very often.
Yeah. Hey, it's okay.
She's not my girl.
Everything in moderation, I do feel like.
But she makes me a better person. Okay. She really does. I'm eating really healthy right now.
No, that's amazing. Well, and for me, so I actually have a whole, again, like we'll have to dive into this, but I spent 6 months at an eating disorder clinic, and that was a lot because I was too restrictive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But with
she
eating
has
disorders,
a crazy story, you guys. So she'll do a full
yeah, we'll
thing
do
on
a full thing. But a lot of it is there are no foods that are bad, right? Like, and if you have this mindset of, okay, I can't have this, I can't have this, I can't have this, your brain can't not think about that. So if you're like, okay, I'm going to do no soda, and then you're constantly like, no soda, no soda, instead of doing that, think of the positive reverse of, okay, I'm going to focus on drinking enough water. I'm going to focus on
the good.
Yes. And so there's so many mindset tricks, I guess, that help with all of those things.
No, I really love that. Guys, all we're really trying to do here is how do we just be better every day? How do we make incremental progress in every single facet of our lives? That's really all we're trying to do. We're not trying to be perfect in everything we do.
No.
We're just trying to build things.
And there are different seasons of our lives too.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting how sometimes you'll feel like you have your nutrition and exercise dialed in. And then you're like, oh, shoot, now I need to work on my spiritual health more. And then you go over here and work on your spiritual health and you're like, oh, crap, now anyway. Yeah. And so it's just this constant ebb and flow of and
being okay with that.
Yeah. Doing the best you can and then letting go.
Yeah.
And that has been something that I personally have struggled with.
We're perfectionists.
Yes. And I've dove down all the rabbit holes of why. Why am I a perfectionist? Oh, it comes back to like this inner child, right?
There's so many episodes. There's something for everything. Is someone writing this down, Dakota?
Yeah, seriously. But I think just doing I think it comes back to that quote of doing the best you can until you know better and then do better. And so, but I'm excited to learn from you. I feel like I learn from you every day.
No, same. Feeling is so mutual. You guys, we're on a call because again, we're launching a business. We're on a call and I'm upset at these people, okay, because they didn't do what I asked. And Nicole ends the call and is so sweet and like was assertive, but then kind, and it changed the entire mood. And I was like, oh crap, good thing I'm going into business with her because I'm bad cop and she's good cop. But I'm learning, guys. Like, again, I'm not perfect either.
No, I think it's good to have that balance.
Yeah.
And just like in businesses, I think it's important for everyone to have a personal mantra.
I agree. I literally want to do an episode where she helps me create my own.
Yep.
Because I need a mantra.
Yeah. And I think it all comes back to that. And so mine is leave everything and everyone better than when you found them.
Do you think about that like every day? Like, does that literally go through your head?
Yeah. And so I started this journal routine where really fast. It takes me 2 minutes where I write down 3 things I'm grateful for every morning. And then I also write down my intention for the day and then what I want to let go of.
I love that.
And so my intention for the day is usually about that. It goes back to that personal philosophy, and it just kind of helps frame your mind. And I will admit, like, this last year got a little bit crazy and I questioned everything in my life, right? Like when you go through a lot of big life changes, I felt brain chaos of, well, have I done everything wrong my whole life? Questioned everything that I believed in. And I did this exercise when I was sitting by the ocean where I wrote down my truths and I wrote down the things that I could hold on to.
Yes.
And a lot of that had to do with my personal mantra of, what I believed in. At that time, I was like, I don't even know if I believe in a God. And I had believed in God my whole life. And so it was just interesting to me, but it also gave me so much more empathy. I think going through hard things helps us develop empathy for people. And just like any mistakes we do in business or personal life, it's easy to judge people. It's easy to say, oh, if I were in that person's position, I would do this.
Yeah.
But I have found I have this weird thing in my life. Every single hard thing that I've been through, I can literally lead that back to a time where I judged someone for doing the exact same thing.
Isn't that wild?
It is wild. So I try not to judge people, mostly just because I don't want to go through that myself.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, like, their history, where their nervous system is at, just all of that.
I would also say, like, going back to the whole energy thing, when I shifted my mindset to being like letting go of anything negative, whether about myself or anyone else, you have so much other brain space and power to be thinking about other things. So like when you get rid of that, you are so much happier. Like I can't tell you the last time I actually like gossiped.
Yeah.
Because like I eliminated it from what I do because I just don't believe in it. It doesn't bring me peace. It doesn't serve me in any way.
Yeah.
So it's like when you eliminate the negative self-talk about yourself, about others, like you have so much energy. And what we're doing with that energy, so much. You can help people. We're starting a freaking business. We're starting a podcast. It's like there are so many things you can do. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I want to empower everyone else to think about is like, I'm going to always talk about this abundance mindsets because it's changed my life. But it's not just about, actually TikTokers are calling it, was it lucky girl syndrome?
Oh,
so like living in abundance, lucky girl syndrome, whatever you guys want to call it. But it's simply living in a better light, leaving people better than they found it.
Yeah.
And it's just the key. So if you guys are gossipers out there, just stop doing it. And I'm not kidding you. You're going to have so much time on your hands.
Yeah.
And then you might find you're at dinner with your friends and those are actually not your friends because when they just want to talk about people and they actually can't connect with you on any other topics, it's time to get a new friend group.
Yeah.
Like truthfully.
No, it's true. Yeah, 100%. And I also think comparing yourself to other people. I remember when I started doing these fitness competitions, I would look at, okay, what do I want to train? How do I want to train? Like, what do I want to look like? Yeah. That was like a whole other lifetime, crazy. I feel like. And I do feel like I would look at these women that were so far, like light years ahead of me. And I would kind of get down on myself and think, oh, I'm so far away from that.
Yeah.
And as soon as I was like, okay, this is not good for me. I need to stop doing this. Like I need to just swim in my lane and focus on myself and improving my own self. Right. And that has nothing to do with anyone else.
What do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy.
It's true.
Yeah.
But it also takes training your mind because it's not like all of a sudden you can say, okay, I'm going to stop comparing myself to other people and then it's away.
Yeah, it's an exercise.
The very, very, very first step in any change is awareness. And so being aware, like so many of us go through life just living on autopilot of, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that I do that. And so I think there's definitely a spectrum of you can go way on the other side. And I will admit I have been way on the other side of being too self-aware where you're like, and it's just overwhelming. And so again,
we have obsessive behaviors, I just think.
Yeah, I think which has also served us to be successful in certain ways. But yeah, for me, it's trying. It actually, have you read the 4 Agreements?
Of course.
Okay, yes.
Have we not talked about this?
No, we haven't.
That is one of my top 5.
Okay, Yeah.
Yes.
I did not realize that.
Every year I read it.
Of course you have. So 4 Agreements is also one of my favorite books. And in there, I always thought it was fascinating that one of them is always do your best, nothing more, nothing less.
Right. Yes.
And I always was like, I feel like that part was written for me because certain people, you don't need to tell them like, don't do more.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, I feel like there is a time where we need to stop.
Yep.
And he gives this analogy of, I think it's a monk who basically is telling this guy wants to achieve nirvana. And so the guy's like, okay, to achieve nirvana, monk, how long will that take me? And the monk says something like 6 years. And the guy's like, okay, great. Well, if I do 4 times as much, and don't quote me on these numbers, they're not the exact numbers, but he's like, if I can do 4 times as much, can I achieve it 4 times faster?
Yeah.
And the monk's like, no, it will actually be slower. It will take you 10 years. And the guy's like, that doesn't make sense. And the monk says, well, that's because you have to like enjoy and like live in the present. You can't work your life away because then you're not actually living.
Yeah.
And so I always thought that was really fascinating. And I do feel like that part was made for me.
Yeah.
Because we are more successful and we're able to do more when we actually let ourselves enjoy and have fun and be present. So that has been a lot of what my journey has been this last like year and a half, 2 years is working on that and just letting myself be and not being so focused on being composed. I feel like a lot of people that would describe me a few years ago in my career, a lot of people would say to me, Nicole, you're always so composed. Like you always have everything all together.
I feel like you still have everything together.
No. I feel like my life has been this like journey, this messy, beautiful journey. And I've been trying, I won't say like I'm perfect at it by any means, but I feel like I've been embracing the messy and the vulnerable. And
I love that though.
And the authentic. And that's what creates beautiful connection, right?
That's what life is about.
Yes. And that's where connection, like you can't, I think it was Brene Brown that said the antithesis of connection is control. And I always thought that was really interesting because we can't control everything and connection is built in the vulnerability, the messy moments. Yeah. And so that's what I love about like, especially our friend group and our friendship is we will be the first to admit like, oh, I did this today and I messed up and, like we're not afraid of letting each other see all sides of us, not just the shiny side, but the beautiful, messy side.
Yeah. And that's how people learn.
Yeah.
Like it's okay that we don't have it all together. Even though most people look like they have it all together. And this just made me think of it. And this might be a tangent.
I love tangents.
It's probably because it's trending on TikTok right now. But it's like, if you are worried you can't do something, go spend time with a startup founder and you will just have so much confidence. You're like, if this guy can build a multi-million-dollar company, we can do that.
Yeah.
Like we can 100% do that. I think I sent you one of them.
You did. And that's the beauty of it too. I think we've both helped build a few different companies and been in the trenches and been around a lot of these things. And I think that there's definitely been imposter syndrome for both of us and then we kind of took a step back and we were like, wait, who are we not to? Like, who are we not to?
And then I got a little overconfident and that's where we get messed up as well.
No, not even a little bit.
I think Brad Lee did a podcast once. I was dying. I might edit this part out.
Dakota, maybe.
But he did a podcast episode once and he was like, I've just always been so confident. Like I'll look into a mirror and even when I wasn't like super fit, I'd always be like, damn, I look great. And I'm like, I have that mindset.
I love that though.
But it's like, he just has that mindset of like, I'm super confident and I'm just going to roll with it and like, we'll figure it out. And I'm like, I feel like we're both actually really similar to that.
Yes. No, I actually love that because, and I saw that with the fitness competitions of, I remember my very first one. I started playing the Sia song, the Porsche Without Brakes. What's that?
Is that the one you showed me on the way to Vegas?
Yes.
Yes.
And it basically, like, she's saying, like, she's a badass, right? And I remember I just played that over and over again. And then before I walked on stage.
That's the theme song.
That is my theme song. I just kept repeating in my mind, I am awesome. I can do this. Like, you got this. Like, I am the best. You know, just like all of these things of, it didn't matter what anyone
Positive
else was
self-talk.
doing. Yeah.
Yes.
And did I look the best? Probably not. But I felt it and I exuded that.
Yeah.
And
it's all about confidence.
Yeah. And so I remember, like, again, I think a lot of it does go back to, it doesn't really matter what anyone else is doing around you. I think it's great to learn from people. But as soon as you start going down that rabbit hole of, oh, I'm not as this as that woman, or I'm not as that, it makes you not be able to show up as authentically or as loving too, because you're stuck in yourself and thinking all these negative things. And so again, like coming back to our friendship and our friend group, I think all of us are secure and confident enough that we love ourselves, that it helps us love each other more. Because when something exciting happens for you, my first thought isn't, oh crap, like I didn't do that. Like, I can't do that. My first thought is just like, yeah, that's right. That's amazing. I'm so happy for you.
No, and that's the way you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to hopefully help all of you guys with too. And we should do a full episode actually on building confidence and how we both did that.
Yeah, I think that would.
Because I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Everything is building.
I absolutely love what you just said. And it does go back to this whole building concept of the name Building with Vitality and
so good. Can we just say that?
Oh, I love it. Again, it took a little bit of time to get there, but then the irony of it was it just authentically came to us because we weren't forcing it.
Yeah.
And so I think that what we really, really want to focus on and help you guys and help ourselves. Yeah. So like, we're not claiming to have this all figured out. We're building too. Like we are literally like
in the middle
bringing
of it.
you on our journey.
Yes.
And building in the sense of it is a journey. Yeah. Like life is just a journey. And that's the beauty of it is we will never arrive at there's no destination. Yeah. And so, but we have found all of these tips and tricks and things that help us with our energy. And I think it comes back to our energy is our currency. And I love thinking of it as that. It's not even just our time, because you can spend time with someone and not actually be fully present.
Yeah.
And you can feel that from someone. But when you give of your energy to something and someone, that makes a huge difference.
Totally.
And how can we increase the energy in our lives to build with vitality?
Yeah.
And it comes back to nutrition, mindset, the abundance mindset, sleep, like all of these things to take care of our bodies and our minds and our spirits to help us build with vitality.
And then also just like help you guys just be so stoked on life. Like all of these things, whatever we're helping you guys build, because every episode will be about building something. And so it'll be really tangible things that you guys can take into your everyday life and actually practice it. It's a practice. This is definitely more on the self-development side. Yeah. But then we also have fun. Like we'll talk about relationship stuff, okay? For you ladies and gents out there.
Yep. Relationships.
But at the end of the day, it's like to close this out, because we're going to have more podcasts to come. This is going to be really helpful in just helping you guys build in every area of your life. And we are so excited to do this. Yes. And also, we're going to create an email so that you guys can submit questions or things that you want us to cover. Because even if we don't have all of the answers, we will bring on a guest that does.
Yeah, no, I love that.
All right. Well, guys, until next time.
Until next time. Thanks for listening to Building with Vitality.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more.
Love you guys.